Hey everyone, it's Josh here. I'm with my boys Parsley and Code,
Yo, what's up?
Yo,
and today we're just going to talk about a hypothetical Naruto matchup. We're going to be talking about Kimimaro, hypothetical prime version of Kimimaro versus Shisui. The reason we decided to actually do this matchup is because these characters aren't really talked about in the series as much. And we thought it would be like interesting if we take the limited knowledge that we have on both of these characters and just like match them up. So I guess they can get into Kimimaro first.
look, man, don't make me take all the fame and the fortune from you, bro.
Nah, Parsley, get it, bro. Go, go, go. Do the background, bro.
All right, well, Kimimaro is just like this bone dude from like Kaguya's like fodder ass clan, but he like survived it, right? And then it was like a massacre from the mist, and they were like just shitting on everybody, but he ended up surviving. And like Orochimaru just sees this guy, and he's like, bro, this man's like the strongest. Like he just sees his power. He's like, he's the strongest. Like, you got the strongest Kenkai Genkai. And then he's like, man, he could be my vessel. Orochimaru plans to like assassinate Hiruzen. And like when he's sick and he's like, man, like this assassination didn't go my way. Like Kabuto's like, bro, if you just had Kimimaro, like that shit just would have went smoothly. Like things just would have went the right way. Like, and even Saku and Uken's like Kimimaro just has better potential than Sasuke. So it's just like let's just hype this man up. You know? Like let's stop playing.
We can look into a few scenarios actually to help us try to scale how powerful Kimimaro is when healthy. While beginning to show signs of ninja age, he joins Orochimaru on the assassination mission of the Kazekage. If he were any help in this mission, he would kind of have to be relative to Raza. Raza is capable, for example, of fighting War Art Gaara, who scales to the Raikage, and in turn scales to KCM Naruto in a way. So in the next scenario is when Kabuto comments that Kimimaro would have made the fight with Hiruzen a non-factor for Orochimaru, which is kind of crazy, implying Orochimaru actually wouldn't have taken any serious damage with his help. But unfortunately, like because Kimimaro was sick, Orochimaru had his arm sealed. They couldn't take Kimimaro on the mission with him, and he had a very difficult time with Hiruzen. And with that in mind, Kimimaro would have to be relative to Hiruzen, who scales above all the other Kage, which is also noted by Kabuto.
Now, when talking about Shisui, there are certain things to take into account, even though that we don't fully know what he was capable of, and he died pretty young. We know that Danzo followed Tobirama's ideology when it came to like getting rid of the Uchiha because they were scared of like their potential. You know, due to Tobirama going through everything with Madara and Izuna, he followed Tobirama's ideology. So we know that Danzo actually convinced the Leaf Board to get rid of the Uchiha clan or like ambush them. Shisui, being a member of Danzo's Anbu Black Ops, took note of this, and like Fugaku and the rest of the Uchiha clan like found this out. The Uchiha clan actually like made a plan to get Shisui to capture Hiruzen, who was the third Hokage at the time. Mind you, I think it's important to note that the Uchiha clan thought Shisui was the strongest, like he was stronger than Fugaku and strong enough and fast enough to get Hiruzen, because they said that his body flicker technique was capable of getting Hiruzen or like blitzing Hiruzen to capture him. So if we go with that context, and like this is if we just don't assume that they're just wanking the hell out of Shisui, I'm sure that they know exactly how strong he is, and I'm sure they're not going to send him like on a fucking death mission and just exaggerating something that they know he can't do. So for this, we're just going to assume that like he can do it, because I think it's just like the most probable. We need to like take into consideration that also Danzo considered Shisui so much of a threat that Danzo actually didn't want to fight him himself, knowing that he was the strongest member of the clan. If we look at the Itachi Shinden novel, right? We know that Danzo had to get certain members of the Abaramen clan to poison Shisui. Shisui had I think what did he have? Like one eye when he used like Susanoo when he was fighting off the rest of the Anbu members.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
he still like he still managed to whip out Susanoo, which is kind of impressive. But the main point of what I'm trying to get at is Danzo, he needed help to like beat Shisui. And even if we go by like the Storm Generation games, which can be considered canon, so we'll go with that for now. In the Generation games, a weakened, fatigued Shisui with one of his eyes ripped out is still like relative enough to Danzo to fight him and like get away. So you can like imply, or like you can just do your own headcanon. I don't really think it's headcanon. I just think like it's implied and just like shown that if it was like a full stamina, full power Shisui, he would have beat Danzo, right? So
I think it's like implied that Shisui wasn't trying to beat Danzo anyway. Like he wasn't trying to kill him or fight back too much. Otherwise, that would put even worse.
Right.
It'd make the Uchiha clan look even worse if he killed Danzo.
Right. Exactly. Like it would have put his clan like in a worse spot. So take this into account. Like he was weakened, fatigued, he lost one of his eyeballs, and he wasn't trying to fight Danzo. That's a lot of nerves. And he still managed to show relativity to Danzo. The main point is like he should be like relative enough to Hiruzen. Like if you think the Uchiha clan is like actually telling the truth, because I think they are, and I think like they wouldn't just lie about something like that. So if you go with like them saying Shisui has to use body flicker to like get to Hiruzen or like capture Hiruzen, that would mean like he would be a Sani level because Hiruzen is like relative to Orochimaru and the rest of the Sani and base, blah blah blah. So with that being said, you can get Shisui around to Sani level. If you really want to like wank him to KCM level, the scaling would be something like this. Shisui would be above Danzo, and if you're assuming that the Danzo that fought Sasuke is like the same strength as the Danzo that fought Shisui, that would mean Sasuke's like relative or like above the Raikage, who's like relative to Casey of Naruto. Again, like it's weird to use, but you could use it if you really wanted to like wank Shisui to like the absolute max that you can. I don't really think I believe it. But if you wanted to,
you can make the argument that Danzo, like, he actually has the same physical stats as when he fought Sasuke. It's just that he didn't have the
exactly
to use Izanagi or Izanagi.
Exactly. Like that's if you think the Sharingan does not amp your stats. Like if you think that Sharingan amps your stats, then yes, that Danzo that fought Sasuke would be like way stronger than the Danzo that Shisui fought. But if you assume that they share relative stats to each other, you can actually get Shisui to like that level if like you just put everybody relative to each other.
Yeah, I don't even think it does give for him specifically, I don't think it does give physical stat amps too much because it's not even his eyeballs. Where you see like Kakashi when he activates a Sharingan, it like actually takes more chakra from it. Like it drains his stamina actually more.
Right.
Yeah.
And may I also know, it actually makes your chakra harder to control. I think Kakashi says it somewhere. Parsley might put it on the screen somewhere. But Kakashi actually says it somewhere and he actually like implies it. So not only when you're using somebody else's eyeballs, it makes your chakra harder to control. And it just doesn't really increase your physical stats because, again, if you don't know how to control this chakra that you're given with these eyeballs, then it's like, it makes it kind of not pointless, but like it makes the chakra harder to control. It's different like if it was Sasuke, because those are his eyeballs and he knows how to like use them. So if you want to say Sasuke has higher stats because of his hatred amps, because his Sharingan is evolving, that's fine. But we see that it's consistent. Whenever somebody else gets like another person's eyeballs, they can't really control that chakra as well as like the person that they got the eyeballs from. So I think it's more consistent to go with Danzo having relative stats against Sasuke, right, than when he did with Shisui. But again, if you think that they're like not the same in stats, I guess that's also fine. I would just go with like what I think is more consistent. So now that we already talked about like how Kimimaro and Shisui are gonna scale to each other and how like they're relative, we should talk about how their powers stack up against each other. Like Shisui's half-body Susanoo, Kodo Matsukami, Kimimaro's other abilities that Code and Parsley are going to get into, but I'm just mainly going to cover Kodo Matsukami and his half-body Susanoo. So with Kodo Matsukami, we know from how Itachi described it, like the user gives the victim like a set of orders to do and like they must complete it. Like they won't be lifted from the Genjutsu until they like complete the order. Or as we like saw in the 5 Kage Summit, when Danzo used Kodo Matsukami, it can change like the very emotions of the victim. So like you would be under hypnosis or like under a sudden emotion change and you wouldn't even know it. Like you would think that you're acting like yourself when people around you would tell you like, nah, you're really not. Before Infinite Tsukuyomi was like revealed, or before people knew it was like a thing, Kodo Matsukami was generally renowned as like the ultimate genjutsu. Now, the thing with it is, like when people try to use it like as a win con, like as an automatic win con for Shisui, it doesn't really work because one, we don't know the exact circumstances that it works under, and we see that Shisui just straight up says like he tried to use it and he failed to use it before. So it's weird to say whether it would work or whether it wouldn't work on Kimimaro. Some people also say like it has to be like under a full moon for it to be used. So like it seems like the ability is very like circumstantial, which means in this situation or hypothetical battle, it'd be very like it'd be like a big burden to prove that if they were to fight under these that they would just fight under these circumstances like regularly. It's like a very big burden. So just to avoid that, we would just drop the whole Kodo Matsukami GG thing. And as for like his Susanoo, it's a half body, but it's not like Sasuke's or Madara's. It's pretty unique. It shoots a weird projectile thing like out of its stomach, and it took out the other Anbu members like pretty swiftly, pretty easily. That's about all it does. It has no durability feats or anything. The impressive thing about it is that he uses it with 1 MS, which obviously like if he used it with both, it would be like much stronger and he can hold it for much longer. Outside of that, it doesn't really have any feats. So like the Susanoo again isn't really like a strong, reliable win con that you could give Shisui to place him like above Kimimaro. I guess I'll let Parsley and Code get into how Kimimaro's abilities would fare against Shisui's, the ones that I just mentioned. So yeah.
Okay, so getting on to Kimimaro's abilities, he can perform a jutsu called the Seedling Fern, Dance of the Seedling Fern, that allows his exponential rapid growth of bones to cover an almost forest-sized area. They kind of protrude out of the ground like trees when he, if you remember from the show, he kind of uses this to get out from underneath the ground and almost kill Gaara and Lee. Now, the thing about this jutsu, right, is that a very underrated aspect that I don't really see anybody talk about is that like he can kind of travel through all the bones because they're biologically a part of him. So he can kind of travel through any of the bones at any given moment, wherever he wants to pop out at. And this could definitely give a good advantage for him against like Shisui's body flicker and possibly Susanoo, but we can talk about that a little bit more later when we get into the Susanoo. So he definitely has like a massive range of attack, and this definitely helps his speed in this case using this technique. And then we're gonna go to Parsley now to talk about his other techniques as well.
What's going on, y'all? It's Parsley. Couldn't put this in the video because the audio is all messed up, but I really wanted to run down really quick what Shiko Sumyaku is. Shiko Sumyaku is a move that Kimimaro can use to manipulate and make bones more dense. And just imagine, you get shot by one of these bones, and imagine what could happen to your own bones. If you don't have this Kenkai Genkai, your bone is literally going to burst because the flesh is just going to explode. Pretty much once it becomes big, your flesh just explodes immediately. Just because you don't have anything to counteract it. And not a lot of people do in Naruto unless they scale above. And we all know that like Kimimaro should be around Sannin level, especially because he can potentially beat Hiruzen as Orochimaru hyped him up to do so. So I just wanted to talk about that fact, and I'm going to put up this scan really quick just to show that that was his potential, and he could only just not do it mainly based off of the fact that he was sick and couldn't really do anything much. And even Kabuto is surprised that he could even move in that state, meaning that his potential was very, very gone. And it just shows what kind of nerf he was in. In the data books, it actually states that the only reason why he's on this kind of mission is just because of Orochimaru, and his blood burns for the battle, nothing else really. So that's pretty much it for Shiko. And yeah,
we fucked up, and the last verdict that we recorded is all shit. It's all gone to shit. So now we're going to redo the verdict. So Josh, I just want to hear about Shisui really quick. Like, if Shisui were to have a win con, what would that win con be?
So we did like some talking about it. Well, a lot of talking about it. And the only thing that we could really come up with would be like if you were to assume that using Genjutsu is like in character for him, like using it kind of like Itachi or like Sasuke, just like spam it. That's his only one con. Shisui just has too much.
I totally agree. I think Shisui, he's probably just only going to be able to win with like Kodo. I don't know. I know that Ko definitely agrees, and Josh, you definitely agree. We have our boy Sebastian in here just to be God and like judge us if we're wrong. So, but you know, it's like, I think at this point, since the Susanoo is just like in one spot, usually he doesn't really move a lot. Like a transportation quote unquote technique, which is pretty much like the bone force, right? Because he could just like come out of any of those bones because it's like biologically a part of him. So he would just be able to like come out from the ground and just drill down the Susanoo, or like the bones themselves will already be doing damage to the Susanoo while like Kimimaro can just jump out and destroy it.
That's the thing about the Bone Forest. If Shisui is like has body flicker and he's trying to like travel across the battlefield very quickly, it's not exactly a problem for Kimimaro. You can kind of just summon the Bone Forest and go in between them and avoid any damage, and actually come up relatively like close to Shisui and do damage that way as well. He's not necessarily like that much slower than Shisui, based off of the relativity with the Sannin. Alright, so Sebastian is here, like we said, to give his opinion, so we're going to give it to him to kind of give his thoughts on at a live Prime Kimimaro versus Shisui. So go ahead, Sebastian, tell us what you think.
Okay, so I wasn't here for most of the recording, so I don't exactly know like all the stuff that was unveiled for each side, but just from my humble interpretation, as powerful as I do think Shisui is, if we were to scale like a live Prime Kimimaro, I would scale him off of Edo. And with Edo, it's like, at the bare minimum, he scales somewhere relative to like a KCM1 Shadow Clone. And even if that Shadow Clone is fatigued, I'm just thinking like, could Shisui do that? And I think the answer is no. Again, without Kodo, because Kodo's a different story. But without Kodo, it's like, even his Susanoo might just get torn up by the Rasen Shuriken. So I feel like, and when you consider as well that like Kimimaro wasn't even using Curse Mark 2, I definitely think Kimimaro takes the dub, and that's mostly my opinion on it.
Yeah, we kind of agree with him.
You heard it first.
Yeah.
God has spoken.
Yeah,
God
now
has
if I plug
spoken.
my controller in, and I give you that perfect Susanoo from Storm 4,
It's
then
over,
he
bro.
stops.
You don't even need the Susanoo in Storm 4. You just fucking play Shisui against Kimimaro. It's a dub.
If you guys have any kind of like rebuttals to that or have any different opinions, please put them in the comments. Please, we want to know how wrong we are. Please.
Yep. Send us your tier list if you dare. In the Discord, I'll put a link in the description.
Just make sure, whatever you do, you don't have Hagoromo and Hamura 2 tiers apart.
Oh fuck! Stop. No. All right, yo.
That shit was so ass.
Any fucking ways. Trinity.
Have a good
Fucking out, guys. Peace out, y'all.